Okay, so thank you all for coming today. We're excited to have Amy Braswell here, as if she doesn't have enough to do with her time. She has agreed to participate in our new knowledge series, and Amy, just a little bit about her, is the co-owner of Capo's Music. She was the winner of the first business challenge that Washington County Chamber and partners had. And Amy actually has a marketing degree, a master's of marketing. So she is the marketing and mobile payments guru, and she sells her, this is something I think everybody ought to know about Capo's. We learned it in the business plan challenge. But Amy sells to...
We've sold to all 50 states and 11 foreign countries within the last 5 years. So,
and mobile payments
is a big part of that.
Is a big part of it. So, without further ado, Amy Braswell.
Okay. And I have business cards that I can pass around, so if there's anything that I don't cover and that you want information on, I have my contact information at the end of this, but I'll give you my card as well, and you can I'm more than happy to have you contact me. Like she said, I'm Amy Braswell. I'm the Director of Business Operations and co-owner of Capo's Music Store, which is at Exit 19. We're a top 100 music store for 2 years in a row. Hopefully this will be the third year through the National Association of Music Merchants. And we have been using mobile payments since we started. We've been in operation a little over 5 years. Previous to that, both my husband and I sold things on, my husband's a musician, so we were always selling things and buying things through eBay. And so what I know the most about, we're going to talk about several different systems today, but what I know the most about is PayPal here, and we'll talk about that. And actually, I brought my phone and everything, so I'll actually walk you through how to use a mobile system, because PayPal here, Square, they're all very, very similar. I actually had to run out and get my credit card so we have something to swipe a minute ago. Is anybody in here currently using any kind of mobile payment system, not your standard credit card slider, but a mobile system at all?
Like Square.
Like Square, PayPal here, any of that kind of stuff. Okay. So there's a couple of reasons that you might want to consider using mobile payments. One is accepting credit cards in general drastically increases your sales. I can't remember the last time I paid cash for anything, or even wrote a check for anything significant. Our average transaction price at our store is about $572. So almost everything we do is by credit card. And we process, just to let you know, we process through mobile payments and credit cards anywhere between $25,000 to $40,000 in credit card payments or mobile payments per month. So the fees and all that add up over time. It's easy and portable. The advantage of a mobile system versus your standard credit card slider is you don't have to plug it in. You don't have to have internet access. Everything operates either off your phone or off your tablet. And a lot of them integrate with a point-of-sale system or website platform. Our website platform that we use for our web store is BigCommerce, which is one of many that's out there. And BigCommerce also integrates with Square and PayPal, so all of our payments come through PayPal. We do a lot of stuff on eBay and Reverb, which is another online sales platform for instruments, and all of that goes through PayPal. So that's also one of the reasons we use it. And security. If you remember, and we still have one, the old style credit card sliders, people look at you a little strange when you're holding their card, sliding a copy of it, you're getting them to sign it, and then that piece of paper is just floating around somewhere out there. Whereas with the mobile, you can slide it right there, and there's nothing in print for someone else to get their hands on. So the sense of security is really high. When the mobile payments first came out, there was some issues with Square specifically on people being able to actually read the card numbers, because it was transferring your credit card number via almost like a voice recognition through your phone, and someone, because there's always someone out there who's smarter than the other guy, had figured out how to track those numbers and pull them in to steal credit card numbers, and all of that has been kind of gotten under control. It's all encrypted now, so it's much, much safer than it was when they first came out 5 or 6 years ago. forward. Okay. If you run a retail store, you're used to this. People shop on their phones. They shop on their phones in your store, comparing your price to everybody else's price. It's the world we live in. 70% of most of the activity that happens on tablets and phones now is shopping related. Whether you're buying off of a national organization like Amazon, whether you're looking at Etsy, whether you're looking at eBay, most of those folks that use their phones on a daily basis, 70% of it is shopping related. You know, you have Facebook stores and that kind of thing now. And mobile payments allows for easy integration with most of those sites. And I don't know why this is being difficult. The three major processors we're going to talk about today are PayPal here, Square, and Intuit Go Payment. As far as a percentage of the market, those are the big three that are out there right now. I'm also going to give you the names of a few others that and their websites that you can look up because they're kind of the up-and-comers in the business. So PayPal here. And let's see if that's, if I can tighten that up anymore. Most of these I pulled straight off of their websites, and the reason is they have a big marketing team that says it much better than I can retype all of it. PayPal here, if you go to paypal.com and you go to the PayPal here link, it gives you all of the information for using the PayPal device. This is the PayPal here slider. This one's actually about 3 years old. We just ordered another one. It's free. It fits right in. If you're using your cell phone, it fits right into your headphones. And there's an app that you download that you process all your payments off of. So you're able to slide your card, which we'll do here in a minute, and I'll show you how to process it. There's a flat rate of 2.7%, and I'll give you a comparison chart here in a minute that'll have all the rates and everything from one to the other. And it'll help you integrate with other devices. One of the advantages of PayPal is they have over 140 million active users worldwide. And they're kind of a bank unto themselves. They're owned by eBay, which there's been rumors that they're actually going to be sold off or split off, and there's a lot of people that do want them to split off because then PayPal might be able to open up to other major retailers. But you can pay a lot of places with PayPal even without the mobile device. If you go to the Dollar General, they give you an option of paying for your purchase out of your PayPal account. So a lot of folks use it. It allows for invoicing, and we love it because it converts currency. We buy, for example, we buy Wagon Picks, which are made in the Netherlands. He invoices us via PayPal. It converts it to US dollars, so we know exactly what we have to pay. But then he receives it in, I'm not even sure what the Netherlands is right now other than the euro dollar, but it converts it to his currency. When we're billing someone, we sold 2 banjos in February to New Zealand, and we shipped them to New Zealand. One guy bought one, loved it, referred his friend, he bought one. We're able to convert, it automatically converts the currency to theirs, so they know exactly what they're paying in US dollars versus their dollars. Stop it. Okay. The slider is free. The app is free. Hardware with PayPal, it varies. They have just started because Square has really got a good hold in the market. They have started building hardware that you can put your iPad in and use almost like a point of sale register now. That varies. It does typically operate either off of a mobile or off of an Android or iPad tablet. It is kind of the on-the-go payment for eBay. So if you buy or sell through eBay, that's the way you have to pay for things, is through PayPal one way or the other. And like I said, there's like 140 million users worldwide. This is very unclear. Sorry about that. But this just gives you an example. Is there another light up here that we might be able to, something that I can do?
The screen isn't showing.
Is that a little better?
Yes.
Okay. That's kind of hard to see, but this was our payment thing. This was our PayPal thing for report, I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago, I took this picture, and it shows payments from and gives you their names. The thing that's kind of hard to see here is it tells you the purchase price, and then it tells you your fees automatically. And then here it tells you your kind of your in-column price. So, yeah.
If you go control and hit the plus key, it
Yeah.
should enlarge it.
If you could control plus.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I didn't do it.
So for instance, and I'll just read that, this purchase was $1,200, there was about $70 in fees, so it ended up being $1,130. So it shows you your fees off of that. If you run with the typical, and we still have one in the shop, typical slider that you get from like your bank or other credit card processor, at the end of the month I get like a 12-page processing report that shows every transaction and what they take out and how much it is and all that. But you don't see that until the end of the month. And then our bank actually takes out a big lump sum of fees at one time. So instead of paying it per transaction like you do with PayPal or Square, you get hit with one big chunk that comes out of your bank account at once. Whereas PayPal will show you with every transaction how much you're paying for that transaction. This came up on our email, and I went to the website, took a picture of it. For those of you thinking about maybe trying a mobile payment system, they had a special that was running, and these come up ever so often. You sign up for information. If you had signed up by March 31st, which was yesterday, they will give you free zero processing as long as you run $300 a month for the month of April and May. So they run these specials ever so often to try to get you into their system, and then you can choose to stay with them or not. You do have to have a PayPal account of some sort to get a PayPal Hero app. So, and as of when we got ours, which was 3-4 years ago when they first came out with them, you had to have a PayPal business account, not just a personal account. That might have changed. I couldn't find anything to say otherwise. But you do have to have a verified PayPal account. To verify the account, to set it up, they do a deposit of a couple cents. You have to verify what that deposit was, and then they just verify your checking account. All of your deposits go into a checking account. And we'll come back to PayPal a little bit. Square is the other major mobile payment system that you'll see out there. There's several businesses in Abingdon that are using Square, and it really is kind of taken on the market. One of the co-founders of Twitter actually was one of the co-founders of Square, so this is a guy who has been hooked into the internet for some time. For the Square, the address is squareup.com, and they have all kinds of information on their website. Again, it's really simple. The reader is free. You can pay for the readers at places like Best Buy and stuff like that. You can go and buy one. I think they charge like between $19 to $39 depending on where you get them from. But you can go if you don't mind waiting for it. You can actually go to Square, register, and they'll send you the reader for free. It integrates again with your computer, with your phone, tablets, anything like that. And they also have a Square stand, which has anyone been to Anthony's or Southern Shoe? If you've been to those two places, I was there last week, they both have the Square stands. The Square stands are about $99. I went and got these shoes the other day from Southern Shoe, right outside of Abingdon, and I was talking to the guy because the last time I was in there, he was using a standard credit card system, and I asked him, I was like, oh, you switched to Square, and we started chit-chatting about it. He said his credit card swiper went down the Wednesday before Christmas. And when he called his processor, they told him it was going to be the next Tuesday after Christmas before they could get him a new slider. Well, if you're in retail at Christmas, the last thing you want to do is not be able to take credit cards. So he went to Best Buy or somewhere like that night, bought the little plug-in, little Square, and was able to process things off of his iPad the next morning. He loved it so much that right after the beginning of the year, he went and bought the whole stand so that he doesn't have to use his iPad and hand it over to folks. At Zazzy's, if you go in and you use your credit card at Zazzy's, whoever's at the counter hands you Ollie or somebody else's iPhone, and they swipe the card and you sign it right on the screen. We don't have, yeah.
And I just got a demonstration, Angie's got one.
Yeah, Angie at Cutting Up has one, and that's how I'll
She
pay
got
for
the
mine.
stand, I mean, it was impressive.
It's really cool the way they work. You know, most of us have an iPad or use an iPad or an Android tablet for other things. This gives you an excuse to write it off as a store or business expense. So that, you can use that to process your payments and everything's right there. The stand, basically, it's just that. It's a little stand that holds your iPad and it has a swipe strip on the bottom of it. I put this one up for Square because the tech specs are pretty much exactly the same. You need to be running iOS 7 or later on your iPhone. Most of us are either 8 or somewhere else above that. iPad or iPad mini, same. You can do it on an iPod Touch, which is the iPod Touch 4th generation, which has the internet integration on it. Android 4.0 or later, or any Android tablet with 4.0. And that's pretty much the exact same as PayPal. For service businesses, and you probably saw this at Angie's the other day, one of the cool things about Square is if you're a service business, it'll allow you to put a tip blocks on there so people can automatically touch it to tip you. It's the same thing they have as Zazie. So you can add, you can program it how low you want the tip to go. So you can start at 10% or 15 or 20 or 25, wherever you want it to be. Give people a couple options, or people can write in a tip, a flat amount, or they can say no tip, which if you're standing there handing them the thing, more than likely they're going to put the tip on there. They'll feel bad otherwise. And this one guy that they quoted that uses them as a restaurant, he said the first day they started using Square, their tips went up 100%. Because again, you're right there, you're handing it to them, or they're right there at the counter. It's not like they're filling in a receipt and leaving it on the desk, and they're not standing face to face with you. Square also gives you the option of setting up a full point of sale system. They have a way for you, through Square Up, to integrate and create a point of sale through Square. We have about 8,000 active SKUs at Capo, so we've never attempted to do something like this simply because our SKU, we have way too many inventory things to keep up with. But for most restaurants and retailers, like this guy says he has 1,500 active SKUs and that management system works perfect for him. One of the reasons we haven't used it is because really I'm too lazy to have to reprogram all 8,000 SKUs into something else. It's one of the reasons we haven't changed off of QuickBooks point of sale since we started. But it allows you to put those things in your system, so your point of sale, your credit card processor, and everything are right there together. So that's a nice advantage if you don't want to have to invest in a big point of sale system. And if you're not operating on a point of sale system, if you're doing the old-fashioned inventory management, you really need to operate on a point of sale system for a lot of reasons. Square integrates with a bunch of different platforms. These are all web store platforms as well. I mentioned BigCommerce, ShipStation, ShopScene, Weebly, Zoho. A lot of these platforms integrate with Square as well. So you can have the same processing system for your website as you do for your mobile payments. Square right now, they have about 250,000 merchants and about 3 million active users worldwide. They hit the market about 5.5 years ago, so this is pretty substantial growth. Like I said, some of the merchants that I regularly use, that I know that use the Square system, are Zazie's, Cutting Up, Southern Shoe, and I'm sure there's lots more that I've probably paid through them with and not even realized it. Intuit Go Payment. Last year, Intuit decided to try to get in the game. Now, if you know QuickBooks and QuickBooks Point of Sale, Intuit owns those. They own several other processing platforms. And they really started pushing, and there's been tons of commercials now about using QuickBooks, Intuit QuickBooks, on your iPad or other tablets, so you can sell from wherever you happen to be. There's a commercial running right now with a veterinarian she's going out into the field, she's picking up sheep, she's trying, to sign off on the iPad that she's good to go, and allows you to track. It integrates fully. So if with GoPayment, your credit card processing, your QuickBooks point of sale, which is your inventory management, and if you use QuickBooks as your accounting software, it all rolls into one. You're not allowed to come in here.
Yeah,
Okay. Intuit GoPayment, again, it'll accept all major credit card types. You can record your credit card transactions. It customizes into QuickBooks. It's a quick sync, so it automatically talks to each other. And then it lets you customize your receipts and logos and that kind of stuff.
What does that run price-wise?
It depends on how much you use it. For QuickBooks, for Intuit GoPayment, there's a flat $19.95 per month rate, and then there's a pay-as-you-go rate. And there's another thing that it'll break it down, show you all the click pays right here. So for PayPal here, you get the free reader, just like you do for Intuit or Square. For PayPal here, it's 2.7 cents per swipe for a U.S. card. It's 2.4 plus 25 cents for Intuit GoPayment, and it's 2.75 for Square. For U.S. card scan and key-in rates, every now and then you'll get a card that won't scan no matter how hard you try. We put it in plastic bags, it won't work. Or you don't have a good signal or something happens and you can't scan the card. You can manually key in the card number. To do that, it costs you more money, just like if you're manually keying it in on like a bank swipe machine. So that goes up to 3.5 plus 15 cents for PayPal, 3.4, 25 cents for Intuit, and it's 3.5 and 15 cents for Square. There's no fee for chargebacks from Square and PayPal, but there is from Intuit GoPayment. I don't know what those chargeback fees are for Intuit, but I know that they say that they do charge a small fee to your account. Funds are available in minutes from PayPal. With Intuit and Square, they process credit cards just like you regularly process cards, and you get your deposit within 1 to 2 days. So with PayPal, as soon as it hits your account, if you have a PayPal debit card, which they put out there, or if you want to use that money to go to pay for other things out of your PayPal account, the money's there pretty much immediately. To transfer it, you have to do a manual transfer, and we'll go over that, and that usually, again, is 1 to 2 days. And that's what they're talking about here. You get a debit card to access the funds immediately, and you get 1% back on eligible purchases. PayPal is more like a bank versus an aggregator, so you can pretty much do anything you want with it. And then you can also accept PayPal payments, and that includes checks and accounts. If they have a PayPal account and they have cash in that PayPal account, you can process it through the PayPal Here app, where you can't do that with Intuit or Square. So I went through and just broke down kind of the big two. And again, I don't know as much about the Intuit because it just came out and we haven't used it yet. I don't know anybody who's using it yet. But PayPal versus Square offers a complete point of sale system. Square does, up to, I think, you probably wouldn't want to go over 1,500 to 2,000 SKUs on it. PayPal says they do, but it's not really a full point of sale. It's more like piecing together multiple parts to make a point of sale system. Square offers inventory management. PayPal really doesn't. Both of them offer multiple receipt options. You can get a text or an email receipt, or if you have it hooked up either wirelessly or otherwise to a printer, you can actually print receipts. Both of them integrates with websites, daily deposits versus manual deposits. There's manual batching that's done at the end of the day with Square. So just like a regular credit card processor, you can set up when you want it to do it. If you want to do it at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it'll manually batch all your credit card processing for that day through Square, and it sends it to your linked account, credit or not credit, but checking or savings account. With PayPal, you have to manually batch. So that means you go in and you manually withdraw however much money you want to. You can withdraw it receipt by receipt, or we do a lot of festivals. And for instance, when we do Rhythm and Roots, we run over the course of that weekend about $3,500 in PayPal transactions. At the end of the night, every night, I will go through and see where our totals are, and I'll go ahead and manually withdraw that. And it takes usually between 2 to 3 days. I have found if you ask it to withdraw on Saturday for some reason, it'll be there on Monday, same as if you ask it on Thursday or Friday. So for some reason, the weekends are a good time to ask it to withdraw. Maybe there's not as much online transactions, but you have to manually ask it to batch those out or to take that money out and transfer it to your bank account. With the others, it automatically does it just like a regular credit card processor. It allows you to use deposits for other payments. With Square, it doesn't. Like I said, for PayPal, if you're paying for other things out of your PayPal account, whether it's you're buying something, we pay a lot of our shipping. We do a lot of USP, United States Post Office flat rate shipping for certain kinds of things that we sell. Priority mail because we have to have tracking number, we want insurance. And so we can pay USPS through PayPal without having to pay with credit card or cash. Most importantly, stand in line at the post office. So you can pay for other things out of that deposit without having to wait for it to go to your bank. And you have access money, like Square again, it's 1 to 2 days for that deposit to batch. If you have a PayPal account that you're making payments through, or if you have a PayPal debit card, the money is there almost immediately. PayPal is a processor, and Square is an aggregator. Square pulls all of those payments together, and then they use payment tech to actually process the credit cards. So for some batches, you're actually all of it goes through payment tech. But for some transactions, especially smaller transactions, Square actually loses a little bit of money sometimes because they're not charging as much as what they're paying for that processing. I read that online. I thought that was kind of interesting. It's not that they're not making money. It's just on the small transactions, it'll add up. Square works offline. What they do is you scan it. The app actually reads the card number and archives it if you don't have access to the internet or you don't have mobile access, and it'll batch it later. So it's not necessarily a true approval. It's like a temporary approval, but they'll batch everything when you do have internet access or mobile access. With PayPal, you have to have either cell service or Wi-Fi or something to batch those cards. It doesn't hold them to batch later. Yeah.
Have you ever run into a problem with that with PayPal?
Yes.
What did you
We
do?
do a festival called Cliff Top in West Virginia, and it's about 30 miles up the mountain from Beckley. I have no cell service up there. In that instance, I do one of two things. I usually take one of the old-fashioned sliders or something with me, and as soon as I get back to cell range, I'll process it. If it's small stuff, I let the customer take it with me. I sold a banjo that was about $1,700 last year, and that one asked the guy to wait until I could process his credit card that night, and then he picked up the banjo the next morning. Just because if you can't verify it. So I've run into that problem, but it's rare. I mean, if you think of where cell coverage is, of course, you're in Mendota, right? I was going to say, you may not be able to get cell service down there. If you have a Wi-Fi, if you have like manual internet that comes in that you can run a Wi-Fi router off of, you can run your phones or pads off of that, and it'll process it.
I also have American Electric Power. I'm at the end of the line.
Okay.
So there are, in my case, I have sporadic cell.
Mm-hmm.
I have real good internet when it's working, but if the power's out, the
Right,
power's out.
the power's out.
That was why I was really intrigued with Intuit and PayPal, because they really are up and comers.
Yeah.
And Square is very good. They certainly have been there long enough, but I keep coming back to Square because I don't know how to solve those other issues right now.
Yeah, having it to where it'll save that number and match it later can definitely be an advantage when you don't know if you're gonna have cell service. It's definitely an advantage. One of the things that PayPal has started doing that Square doesn't do is it allows you to process checks through your PayPal Here app via your photo option on your phone, so you can take a picture of it and it'll pull that number in, that routing number and everything in, and it'll process a check that way. We haven't done that yet, simply because most of the time folks are happy to use their credit cards. Both of them allow invoicing, so you can create and send an invoice for something out of either app, and they both allow keyed payments. One of the things you want to watch out for with keyed payments, though, is there is a fraud protection built in to PayPal and Square, and I'm sure there's one built into Intuit. If you key in someone's credit card number and they can't sign it, and they're not there to sign it, you hit the no signature option on it. If you process over $2,000 in 7 days through Square, they'll put a freeze on your account. They'll shut you down for a little while. You have to call, you have to explain what's going on. It's a fraud protection service. With PayPal, it's $2,500 in 7 days. We ran into this issue because we had set a credit card payment over the phone from a guy, I think he was in like Montana, Colorado, somewhere, and we processed it via our PayPal. We typed it into our phone that night because we weren't in the shop, and we wanted to go ahead and verify that credit card number and process it. It was a $3,000 guitar, and PayPal froze our account for 7 days. And we couldn't get the money out, we couldn't get any of our money out or put anything in. So until he verified on his end that yes indeed I did buy this, and we were able to work it out with PayPal, they froze our account because they were afraid it was fraudulent. It wasn't, but it's there to protect people. It can just be a pain in the butt. So it's something to consider if you type in a lot of payments. Multiple users are supported on both of them. When we're working at festival, myself, my husband Gil, and Emery, who works for us, we all have the PayPal Here apps on our phones. We just flip back and forth. Whoever happens to be in the booth has the little thing they plug into their phone, the little swiper, and all of us can be on there at one time, and they allow multiple users at one time. For Square, if you have multiple Square terminals in a retail store or something like that, everybody can be logged onto the same system, and it doesn't do anything weird about that. With Intuit Go Payment, I know that you can run Intuit point of sale on multiple platforms, but you usually have to pay a fee. I'm not sure how Go Payment works, if it allows you to use multiple users at one time or not. Flat fee. Square offers a flat processing fee. If you process over $250,000 a year in credit card payments, you can get a flat fee for swiped card transactions, which is much lower than your pay per swipe. It doesn't apply to keyed in transactions, so if you have to key in stuff, it doesn't apply to that. But if you process over $250,000 a year, they do offer a flat rate. At one point, the flat rate was around $300 to $400 a month, and I'm not sure what that rate is. And if you're swiping that many cards per month, that's actually a pretty good deal. Your ACH charges, your credit card charges per month, depending on the processor you're using, could be substantially more than that, so that could be a savings. Plus, every month what your fees are going to be. You're not kind of blindsided with what that's going to, what's coming out of your account. The other thing that PayPal and Square do that your standard processors don't do is it takes it out of every transaction up front. So unless you're paying that flat rate, the amount coming into your account is the purchase price minus their fee. So you're not getting hit with one big fee at one time. It's coming out bit by bit by bit. The only thing that's a pain in that is if you're having to manually type in your stuff into a point of sale system. Like when we do festivals, we bring everything back, we put it in our point of sale to take it out of inventory. You have to change your prices to match what the actual deposits are, rather than being able to just type in your code and it comes up at $25, because you're not getting $25, you're probably getting $23.50. So that's the only disadvantage to that. They both offer 24-hour phone and internet tech support. I know Intuit, I'm not sure where PayPal and Square, send their calls to. I know Intuit's calls go overseas, because I've had to be on the phone with the point of sale guy several times, whose name was not Bob, but that's what he told me it was, who had as much trouble understanding my accent. So they have tech support that's available all the time, and you can use it on Android or iOS. And again, the security is there on both sides. People recognize PayPal. They also recognize Square now. People are used to seeing the squares out there, so they're not as hesitant to give you their card for anything like that. And again, it's a little bit more secure than, say, handwriting those receipts or swiping, using the big old manual swiper and having somebody's credit card number floating around out there. There's a few other mobile payment providers that have popped up. SecureNet is one of them, and Flint Mobile is one, and those are the website addresses for those two. Amazon is also getting into the game, and they have a thing called Amazon Local Register, which is just, they're doing soft launches of it, and it's kind of getting out there in some more metropolitan areas. Depending on what your opinion is of Amazon, or if you sell on Amazon, this might be a good way to process your cards as a mobile system. And it's just a little swiper.
And I was at a workshop last week in Roanoke, and a lady was really high on Flint.
Mm-hmm.
She had rave reviews, and she did made homemade soaps and so forth, and she really liked it.
Yeah. So what I would encourage everybody to do is kind of poke around and see what works best for you. I know a lot of folks that use Square absolutely love it. The idea of the flat rate is appealing to me. The reason that we use this, like I said, is because we do so many other things that integrate into PayPal. So instead of keeping up with 4 different accounts, we basically keep up with our PayPal account and our bank account. So this is what the little PayPal reader looks like, your screen looks like. If you haven't seen these before, you just plug it into your phone. And I have it's not a Gorilla case, but it's a similar case. If you have the protective cases on your phone or iPad, you'll have to take them off because the reader doesn't fit in there very good with the protective case on it, so I always have to pop my case off. But hopefully so far I haven't dropped it on any asphalt. I have dropped it on dirt a whole lot. But it just comes up, you can enter the item name. So for us, if you have a SKU, you just enter the SKU. So like 6001 is a SKU for us for a certain kind of pick in the store. Then you have the pad, you put in how much that thing is. Say in this case it's 50 cents. You hit add, you can add something else. So 112 is another SKU that we have. Well, that's a SKU too, but I don't know what that is, so let me take that one out. And that is $1. I'm really interested in getting an iPhone 6 Plus because the screen's so much bigger and I have very fat thumbs, so I'm always mistyping on my screen. So once you get done putting whatever it is in there, you hit charge. It'll tell you can swipe card when ready, or you can do PayPal check-in. So if someone has a PayPal account, they can go in and log into their account to pay. You can manually put the card number in. It also gives you the option of doing invoices, cash, or check directly off of your app, but we're going to swipe card. I'm swiping my own card. So you just swipe it through there. It takes it a second to read it. And processing payment. Hopefully it goes through. That'd be embarrassing if it didn't go through for $1.50, wouldn't it? Okay, and then you have the signature line. You can get people to sign with their fingers. We have a couple of pens that were given to us by a hospital over in the coal fields that are regular pens, but they also have the little foam tips when the pen's not stuck out. And we use those for festivals because people can sign their receipts, but they can also sign this. Just make sure they don't have the pen stuck out. And then they sign it, you hit done, you complete payment, and you go on with your life. So, and it gives you the chance, you can send receipts via text, you can send them via email, however you want to do it, and it'll send the receipt to them automatically. One of the other things I like about the PayPal Here app that I don't think happens with with Square, but again, I'm not as familiar with it. Every time we get a PayPal payment, regardless of where it comes from, it pushes to my phone. So if we make a sale overnight on our web store, BigCommerce has an app. The BigCommerce thing will pop up and it'll tell me, hey, you sold something. And then PayPal will pop up and say, this is how much money you have. So it's nice, especially when we're sending, like Emory or somebody else is off at a festival. Like this past weekend, we did a festival in Bristol called the Bristol Bluegrass Spring Fest. It was the first ever event. And Emory worked it. We were in the store. Every time he made a sale with PayPal app, I saw it within 5 seconds. It would pop up on my phone and say, you have $35, you have $45, you have whatever. And it pops up on your phone, and then you can hit it, and it'll tell you if he keyed in what item it was or the name or anything. It'll tell you what sold and all that. When you get the text alerts, when the customer gets a text alert, it comes from this number. It says, you have paid $1.50 US dollars, USD, to Capo's Music Store and View. And if you click on it, if the customer clicks on it, it'll not only tell them what they bought, but it'll show them exactly where they bought it. So when we're selling at Rhythm and Roots, it shows them whatever spot on State Street that we're at, if they paid for that item at that time. Or if they're in a store, whatever, it'll show them the address. And you can integrate a picture or a logo or whatever into it. So we have a picture integrated into ours, so every time somebody looks at their receipt, we have a little store picture that comes up with our logo on it that shows them where they bought it from. And it tells them what they bought and what the total was. So that's kind of neat. Same thing with the email. It does the same thing when they send an email payment.
What
Amy,
the most,
Yeah.
what percentage now do you get with mobile payment versus does anybody much write a check to you?
We don't do a whole lot of checks. We'll get local folks who write checks, and we get a lot of people who are over 70 that write checks to us for things. Most of the payment systems that we run credit cards or mobile payments. In the store, most of the time we still use the old slider. It's integrated. We use Highlands Union Bank. We love them. We owe them a lot of money. So we keep our relationship with them, and we use their slider. They've been great with their support. We use these anytime we're out doing anything, or when we get really good business or really busy around Christmas time. If one of the guys is on the floor or in one of the rooms, our store is divided into different rooms. It's an old house. So say if Gil's in the banjo room in the back, and he's working with the customer, you know, a lot of times the guys will be carrying around their phones, and they can pay for it there and not have to come up to the register and pay for it. So we'll use both of them at the same time if we get really busy, because we only have one permanent cash register. But mobile payments, when we do like Rhythm and Roots and those kind of things, probably 85% of people pay via mobile payment versus using cash. Because they want to save their cash for things they can't use credit cards for.
Which means if you didn't have that option, you'd be losing
We would
quite
be
a bit of
hurt.
business.
I mean, we sell a lot of ukuleles, which are really popular instruments. We sell a lot of ukuleles at places like Rhythm and Roots and festivals. Parents don't want to buy their kid, you know, a big guitar, especially little kids. They want something that's a better investment, you know, for that age group. They don't mind spending $30, $35 on a uke. It's also easier to port around, especially if you're pushing kids. You don't want to have to carry a guitar on your back. We probably would sell less than half of the number of ukes we do because we're able to do mobile payments. Dad's able to swipe that card, give the kid the ukulele. He's not screaming anymore. They can go on down State Street, go see their show, and have a good day. So it really helps us with our festivals. Festival sales probably went up. I mean, we only did a couple festivals before we had that. But I would say our festival sales are probably double because we're able to process credit cards, especially big ticket items. Anything, I mean, your average person is not walking around carrying more than $200 in cash at a big event like that. They just aren't. And so if you want to make that sale then, while they're really wanting it, having that increases your chance probably tenfold.
And you know, we used to do Mistletoe Market when I had the gift shop, and I wanted them to pay with credit card.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to track down people from all over if they've given you a bad check and
Yeah.
you lost your stuff.
Yeah, I really don't like taking checks.
Yeah,
Unless
I
we're
don't
in the
mind
store.
paying that fee one solid
Yeah.
bit. Do you?
Not for the security of it.
I think it's just the cost of doing business.
Yeah, it is, and it's one of those things that you don't necessarily build into your cost depending on what you're selling. If you're able to create something from scratch, like, for Anthony with his desserts, he can build in some of his costs into the desserts. We are controlled a lot by what's called MAP pricing, which is minimum advertised price. So people in our store are shopping on all of these other places while they're looking at what our price is, so we have to pretty much be what they're selling for online. It's just one of those costs that we build into our budget. We know that anywhere from 2.5 to 3% of our total sales is going to go to credit card or some kind of processing fee, whether it's PayPal or credit card fees. It's just part of what you have to do now. I know that there's some places that don't accept credit cards, and I don't know how they're still in business in this day and age. I pay for sweet tea in the drive-thru with my debit card, $1.05, because I'm always scrounging around in the seat to see if I have the money, and I usually don't. And, I just do that. The other thing is, there's some folks that I've seen that say minimum of $5 purchase with your credit or debit card, and the reason they do that is because of that 3% to 2 to 3% they're paying. That's really off-putting to a customer. It doesn't always help you increase your sales. It actually will make people walk away. So I always tell people, it's better sometimes to eat that fee and just take it as a cost of doing business than turn people off. Because if I walk up and I'm wanting, if I want to get a coffee, which is $1.25, and it says minimum of $5 purchase, I'm not going to figure out what else I want to buy for $5. I'm just going to walk away without the coffee. We have no minimum purchases. We have kids that come in our store and they buy a 52-cent pick with their debit cards. We're probably losing money on it, but it builds a customer relationship, and they're going to come back and buy other stuff some other time. So that's just the cost of doing business. Yes, sir.
Your average sale was, what did you say?
$5.72.
$5.70.
We sell a lot of bigger ticket items. That's how that 50 cents balances out to the $5.72.
My question was, how much, or what percent of your customers want a receipt right then?
It varies.
Does it vary on the
Generation Xers and Millennials, they are fine with a text receipt or an email receipt. They don't care. We take with us to all festivals, we take an old-fashioned ticket book that we can handwrite the receipt, and we have our name and stuff stamped on the top of it, or we'll put labels with our logo and stuff on them, and we'll hand them a physical receipt if they really want one, just so they have that. And a lot of people, especially with bigger ticket items, want that. With items that are brand new that carry a lifetime warranty, they have to have a physical receipt. And for some of the folks that purchase from us at festivals, we always send them a handwritten thank you card. If you buy an instrument from us, regardless of price level, ukulele all the way up to an $11,000 guitar, you get a handwritten thank you note with our logo and everything on it saying thank you for your purchase. And if it's something like that, we'll go ahead and run them a physical copy of the receipt through our point of sale system and stick it in the envelope and send it to them. That way they have that physical receipt to go with their warranty.
The other thing is if you have your business cards made just a tiny little bit bigger than general, you use that business card as a receipt and
Yeah.
they'll save it.
That's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah.
You write on the back of that business card
What
and
it is,
sign,
yeah.
and you sign your name, and they'll save that business card
Mhm.
just because it's their receipt.
Yeah. And we do quote cards in the store. We get a lot of people who window shop for a while before making a big purchase. With instruments, you're going to want to try instruments out, usually multiple instruments multiple times. And we have quote cards that are very similar to our standard business card, but on the back of them they're blank, so they don't have all the links to our social media and stuff. They're blank, and we're able to write what the quote for the instrument is, the item, what it is, and how much it is, and then they have that on the front. So anytime they pick it up to look at it at another store, they're looking back at our logo and our name and address and all that. So, any other questions? I went through this really quick, so
I have a question.
yeah,
It's kind of off the wall.
no, it's fine.
You have an inventory,
Yes,
and this is what you have in your inventory.
yes,
You've made a point of sales on your phone.
yes.
Okay. Does it adjust your inventory?
It does if you have something that's automatically integrated, like if you're running Square as your point of sale and you're running through Square payments, like you have the stand, Like Anthony, his inventory is loaded into his system, like he knows how many, whatever, truffles or those wonderful cheesecakes or whatever he has at one time, and it comes out of there. Southern Shoe, I'm not sure how, they have a lot of stuff, I'm not sure how they run their inventory, but it's the inventory code for each whatever shoe, like I buy Allegrias or however you say that, and they plug that number in and it links into their inventory so it pulls it out. Intuit Go Payment does that, so if you have Intuit point of sale and you link it into your Go Payment, it automatically pulls out whatever it is that you're selling as long as you're using the same thing. For us, like I said, because I'm lazy right now, we haven't transferred to something like Square or the Intuit Go Payment. With PayPal, we get the list of all of our deposits, and then so we come back from a festival, we have sheets and sheets and sheets of sales, and I finally trained the guys not to put the credit card sales on there, they just put cash sales on there, but I'll have to go through and manually key it into our inventory to pull everything out. Yeah, to update, keep our inventory updated. And I gave up on making sure our inventory was 100% about 3.5 years ago. Because as many festivals as we do and as many SKUs as we have, like our picks, we carry about 175 different kinds of picks. Of those, there's about 100 different SKUs. Because they're all different manufacturers. The guys, strings, we carry about 150 different strings. They all have different SKUs. I get Martin strings. I carry 12 kinds of Martin strings in the store. And at the festivals, the guys write Martin strings. Or elixir strings, and we have, 7 kinds of elixirs. So I gave up on trying to make it 100% about 3.5 years ago. I kept yelling at if they don't listen, so I had to adapt. Otherwise, I would have been very upset a lot of the time. There's things that you learn to live with
I had that
in
problem.
retail.
Yeah.
You just gotta learn to live with certain things
You
in retail.
count your inventory at the beginning of the year, you add what you bought, and you subtract what you still got at the end of the year. I mean,
Yeah. We do rolling inventory.
Right, because.
Yeah. We do big counts twice a year, and then we do departments. We do 2 departments a month. We have 12 different departments. We end up having things that go back because you'll get an instrument in, it'll be faulty, we send it back. Sometimes we get a replacement, sometimes we don't. Sometimes the guys remember to take it out of the system, or I remember to take it out, sometimes we don't. We'll get to that roll count every 3 months. And we're like, oh, wait a minute, we don't have this guitar anymore, and this is why. We also do a lot of consignments, and consignments come and go a lot. They stay there for 60 to 90 days. They either sell or they go home. And so making sure those are right is kind of a pain. So we do the best we can with it.
Now, if you have a store that you're not at festival,
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
If you're just in-house.
And QuickBooks has a bookkeeping
Yeah.
system that you can connect everything.
Yeah.
And it'll count your inventory and
Yeah.
all that for
As
you,
it's
though.
sold and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
One
But
of the,
if you're in and out of your store and you're not.
And you're
using
doing
that-
all kinds of-
you're
yeah.
not- Yeah, you're not using that software.
We have
and
a
all
weird
that.
system. Yeah, I mean, we're all over the place, so.
one of the things I got, Amy, when you're talking about it, each of these systems have something that's unique to them.
Right.
Okay. And what you have to find, I think, okay, like I've been struggling with this too, to try to figure out what's the best one.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't one best one,
For
but there may
everybody,
be
yeah.
one best one for
Yeah.
your situation. And where I was struggling is I love Quicken,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So I would have liked to pick that one, but I also like to be able to get the charges. And the only one that'll let me store charges, okay, is
Square.
Square right now. It's probably gonna change, but, at any given moment, this technology changes, and what I gotta do is pick the best at this moment, okay, and then watch them and see what
Mhm.
else happens. And I think that was why I thought, as I was listening to you, Amy,
Mm-hmm.
I thought, why did she choose this one?
Yeah, we chose PayPal because of all the platforms that we use. Everything we process through eBay goes through PayPal. They own PayPal. Eventually, if PayPal ever gets sold off, I guarantee you that Amazon is going to allow PayPal payments on there. The only reason they don't do it right now is because eBay won't let them. More than likely, I mean, I'm not on the inside, so I don't know that, but I would bet that's the reason. Reverb, which is a kind of a competitor of eBay as far as it's only instruments, it's only musical instruments. They use PayPal. Most of the people we deal with, vendor-wise, especially small shop vendors, like Wagon Picks in the Netherlands, He uses PayPal. We do have one guy that we pay through Intuit Payments, and that's because he just does QuickBooks, but it's an advertising, it's a advertising service we use, a marketing service we use, and he uses Intuit, and so they have my bank account number, so I can click one button and pay them, but otherwise, pretty much every other platform we use uses PayPal. And I like having immediate access to the information and the money, because we do, for me, if you're having a really slow cash flow month, like February, sucked for pretty much any retailer that had to deal with the snow. If you're having a slow cash flow month and you have money in your PayPal account, you don't have to stop going to the post office and shipping and doing that kind of stuff, because you can pay for it all out of your PayPal account. So as money's coming in, for us, we had banjo payments that were coming in and other instruments we were selling through eBay and other sources. The money was in PayPal. We didn't have to charge our credit card or use our debit card to pay for shipping. We could pay for it right there. It took that money directly off of that PayPal amount, and it just went on its way. So if the money's not there physically, sometimes it's easier to process it and let go of it than if you're having to go, hand over your debit card or write a check or pay cash at the post office.
And, I have trust issues, so, to have two separate, like, I have two separate credit cards, and if I go somewhere and I'm not sure about whether somebody, like Mexico or something, I'll use that credit card that I don't use very often, just so that if they steal that number, it's not in my, so having a PayPal account and then a regular banking account's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's a layer of protection,
Yeah.
that,
And it's one of those names that's been around long enough that people know it and they trust it. We put signs up when we do festivals. We'll put a sign up on the front of our booth, or like when we're at IBMA in Raleigh, we're in this big conference center, and it's on the table where people walk up and they see we pulled it offline, the little PayPal here sign, and then it has all the different credit cards. And people know automatically when they walk up, they can use their credit card. They don't even have to ask. We've got a sign up for them to see, so that if they're looking at something and they don't want to ask, hey, do you take credit cards? We have signage up to encourage people that they know that, just like you put those signs on your door when people come in and you start looking for those, oh, I can pay with my credit card here. We do the same thing at festivals, so there's no question from folks that they can pay.
PayPal's like currency.
Yeah, it is. For a lot of folks, that's, and especially if you have a PayPal debit card, you use that, you can swipe it just like your bank, your bank debit card, and it comes out just automatically that way. So it's one of those things that's universally known around the world. And that's how we get, I would say 97% of our overseas or out of the country things are done through PayPal. It's a real pain when you're processing overseas credit cards with fees and that kind of thing, but we can invoice them through PayPal. So we sold a fiddle to Brazil. The guy paid for it within an hour on PayPal. The money's in our account. We can go ahead and ship it. We don't have to worry about a chargeback on a credit card or anything weird, since he didn't sign, he's not physically there to sign it. Anything we do pretty much overseas. Canada, we're a little bit more lenient with Canada, because Canadians, they're special people. So, we'll do Canadian credit cards, but most of the overseas stuff that we do, we all do through PayPal invoices, because it protects us. You don't have to worry about any kind of chargebacks on the credit card or any iffy things. With big purchases, pretty much anything, with us over a couple $1,000s, we almost put it, unless they're standing in front of us, swiping their card and signing it, we process everything through PayPal, just because it adds that layer of security. It doesn't mean that they can't dispute the charge through PayPal, but if you have a paper trail to prove they agreed to this, and if it's an invoice that they paid, then they're not going to dispute that. And it gives you a layer of security. You have the money before you ship it around the world. So that's important, especially with big ticket items.
What if they say that it was a fraudulent purchase?
It'll freeze your account for a while unless you have a signature or some other paper trail, some other kind of thing to prove that they bought it. That's the thing with the keyed-in transactions. One of the reasons that if it's a certain level, they'll freeze your account. You can't process or pull money in or out. And that's the reason why, is because there's that chance that, wait a minute, this person might not have actually bought this, their credit card number was stolen with the keyed-in transactions. We make everybody, even if it's not legible, everybody signs at the end of their transaction on that screen, just to show that someone was there signing it when we slide it. And that's one of the reasons we're doing invoicing now. And you can do that with Square. You can invoice people with Square. So if they're not there to make the payment in person, or you have any feeling on something bigger that you want a paper trail, you can invoice them, send them an invoice, and then they can click and pay it with their credit card. That gives you that paper trail to prove this person agreed to this transaction, so there shouldn't be an issue. Now, when you're doing online stuff, selling online with eBay or other things, you always have that chance that somebody gets something they're not happy with, but there's a system built in there that you can dispute a lot of those, you can handle those disagreements or dispute something through eBay or through PayPal. And we've had a few things that they'll put holds on because it'll pull stuff out of their bank account. We had a transaction that was pretty good size, and I can't remember exactly how much it was, but I know it was well over $1,000. And because it was pulling out of the person's bank account instead of being processed through their credit card or pulling it out of their PayPal balance, they put a hold on it for a couple of days. In that instance, we don't ship until a hold is released, and we tell buyers that up front. As soon as the money's free, you'll get your stuff. And you have to process, or you don't have to, but if you really want to keep things flowing well, with PayPal you want to put tracking information and stuff into that system so that they can verify that it's been shipped to the person. And I always put it in PayPal instead of eBay because PayPal is more reliable about keeping up the tracking than eBay is.
Well,
Did it happen?
I can understand, freezing for that amount, but not your whole account.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those things that, for us, if they suspect it's a fraudulent charge, they're going to shut the account down and keep you from processing anything else. Because the idea is if they're going to put this in, maybe they'll put something else in. And they're really quick about, there was one time something like that came up. I called them, it was about 9:30 at night. We were able to get it settled within 20 minutes. I just forwarded them an email saying, this person agreed to this purchase over email. Here's the emails, here's all the information about the purchase. It hasn't shipped yet, but when it does, we'll put the tracking into PayPal, and they freed the money up. Because of their system, it usually takes about 2 days to do that. It takes a little while to process it.
So, even though it's just one transaction of 10,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have access to the other 9. Is that what you're stating?
Well, if you're pulling money out, they won't allow you to process any payments typically during that freeze period. So you can't type in anything else during that freeze period or process any payments. And it won't allow you to pull that money out. We typically withdraw money depending on how much is coming in and what's going on with PayPal. We typically withdraw money every day. Just make it easier because we are keying everything into our point of sale system. I don't like to leave it more than a few weeks at a time. And usually as soon as we put that tracking information in there, I'll see what the amount is and I'll go in and withdraw that amount so that we can match that exact amount of deposit in our bank with that transaction without having to try to backtrack and figure out what it is. But yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly if we had any other money in the account at that time. I don't think we had any other cash in there, but we couldn't buy anything else. Like, we couldn't go into eBay and buy something with our PayPal account until they unfroze it or anything like that.
You can still accept more payments into that.
You can, but you can't, you just can't access, won't let you pull any money until they verify.
Oh, you still can process.
You can
just
process
don't have
payments.
access.
You just don't have access to the money.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that, I didn't mean to confuse
Oh.
you. Yeah, you can process some things now with Square. I'm not sure if I know PayPal will let, like if somebody bought something on auction on eBay and they go in and they automatically pay for it at the end of the auction, which is what you're supposed to do, that money comes into our account. If our account's frozen, the money will come in, but we can't get to it until they unfreeze it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think Square works the same way. Money will come in, but you can't, until you reconcile that fraud, you can't get to it. So it won't automatically batch that. Where Square batches your money every night, it wouldn't batch that amount I don't believe. So that can get you. But if you're, if you're using it the way it's supposed to be used, and you just kind of keep that, keep all those things in mind, you won't have any trouble. We learned our lesson the first time, we have done it since. So usually when it comes with money, once you have something happen the first time, it sticks in your brain and you never do it again if it freezes up a good chunk of money for you. Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever had a customer question the security of you using the square? To say, how secure is this? And you have to explain that back to a customer.
Yeah, we've had, with PayPal, we've had only maybe 1 or 2 people look at us funny when we started whipping their credit card through our phone. We don't get the looks nearly as much as people freaking out when you use one of the sliders and you're handing them their card back and you have a physical copy of their card, and V code and everything right there in front of you, and it's a piece of paper you're shoving in with a bunch of other pieces of paper. That people look at you a little bit funnier that way. The world that we live in now, people are so used to mobile payments. I mean, now you have Apple Pay. You can walk up. You don't even have to have your card. You just put your phone against the little thing, and it sends money magically from your account through your phone signal into their account. So that's kind of the world we live in. In the beginning, there was, like I said, about 4.5, 5 years ago, when Square first came out, there was some security issues because of the way they were transmitting that signal. And then since then, they fixed that. They've done a really good job of letting people know this is safe, this is secure, your data is encrypted. It's the same as sliding a card. I would much rather, personally, have someone slide their card right there in front of me than hand it to a waitress in a restaurant and let her walk off somewhere else. And then the card comes back 15 minutes later after, it's passed through however many hands. And I think that's, there's so many security things built into most credit and debit cards now. We travel a lot, and we go to California pretty much every January for a conference. We use a local bank. We have a local debit card. Every time I go to run that debit card in California, it refuses it. It declines it, and it locks up our account. I have to make a phone call. It's their security protecting me, even though it's a royal pain in the butt. It's their security protecting me on my end going, California is a big place for credit card fraud, so we're not going to let you authorize this here until we know that you're there. So again, it's one of those things after you've been through it enough, you make that phone call, you let them know, I'm going out of the country, this is where I'm going, or I'm going to California, or I'm going here, I'm going there. We still do, only this year we're not. We do cruises, and we use our credit card all the time when we cruise, and we have to call our credit card company ahead of time and let them know, hey, we're going to be in Belize, or we're going to be here or there, because it's easier than carrying. I don't personally like carrying a whole lot of cash around a foreign country. I'd rather use my credit card. So it's just what people are used to right now.
Would it answer your question? Right now, those are not real secure.
Yeah, and most people understand
But the
that.
problem is it cycles.
Yeah,
They're putting some things on credit cards now that you'll read about, and your banks will send you,
yeah,
that are gonna make them a lot more secure.
Yeah.
But then 2 years from now, they'll be out of cycle again.
yeah.
So it's just.
Yeah, you have the
it's-
chips
It's
and-
the moment that you're at any
Mhm.
time, but fortunately, most of the banks are awfully good at
Yeah.
protecting you and.
Yeah, as a consumer, you have a whole lot of protection. Sometimes as a seller, you get bogged down with some of those protections. As a consumer, there's a lot of protections. And you have right of refusal. If anything pops up on that card, and most people know that. They know that if something pops up on their credit card statement or something's iffy, they can call their company, they'll freeze that payment, and then, you basically have, it's kind of like, guilty until proven innocent. As a retailer, you have to prove that you had right of authorization on that card rather than the buyer having to prove that they agreed to make the purchase.
I'd rather use a credit card than a debit card, because at least the credit card, you can deny the.
Yeah, you can deny the charge.
And they'll put off making you make that payment without
Yeah.
interest until you prove that it is or isn't yours, but debit card.
It's gone,
Somebody
yeah.
can wipe your account out. I
Yeah.
don't like debit cards
Yeah.
at all.
It's one of those things. And, we use a local bank, a local card. We do a lot of business with Canadian companies. Our local bank, we have to pre-authorize all of those charges and everything for overseas. So there's a lot of security measures built in. But, we carry these things around, all over the Southeast. We do festivals in West Virginia, North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee, I think we've done some in Kentucky, and other guitar shows and different kinds of things. Everybody pretty much who's buying anything significant knows what these are now. It's not unusual to walk into a local retailer and they're not using a standard credit card processor anymore. Like a lot of the folks in Abingdon have switched over to Square. A lot of them, you just see that. It's just it's a normal thing now. But the suspicion I think is more generational. The older the folks we have that work with us, the more suspicious they are of any kind of technology processing. Millennials, you can fingerprint them, they don't care. They're much more laid back because they grew up with it. They teethed on these kind of iPhones, so they're used to it.
I
So
call
it's
my
partially
grandkids when I
generational.
wanna learn the technology, and they just whip it out.
Yeah.
Tell me everything about it they ever wanted to know.
So, any other questions? Yeah, if you're really interested in Square, Angie Wilson that runs Cutting Up, she uses Square. Anthony uses Square. I think his business, his business partner deals with most of the business side of it. So the guy at Southern Shoe, a lot of places are using it now, and they're happy to talk to you about what they have and what it is. You can order the Square stuff online, and like I said, you can order. We actually had one in the very beginning. We had one of the little squares. We just never ended up using it because PayPal came out like a week later. You can order the squares online. It's free. You wait like a week or so for it to get shipped to you. You go in, download the app, register. If you want something immediate, you can buy them at retailers like Best Buy and that kind of thing. Same thing with the point of sale that holds the iPad. You do have to buy the iPad separate. Most of us either have an iPad or Android device of some sort, but you have to buy that separate. But the stand and everything is like $99, $89.99 at Best Buy, or you can order them direct off of Square's website. I'm sure there's lots of other places that probably have them.
What was that last one you said, the up-and-comer that you said you'd seen? Or, in fact,
Flint, or
There's Flint. Flint's gotten a lot of good press lately.
I think Flint is the one, if you do any shopping up at, or your husband or you do a lot of shopping up at Lowe's, okay, I think they offer that free in the sense that if you buy $20 at Lowe's, they give you get your money right back. Okay, so it's kind of a clever marketing thing they're using up there on Flint, I think.
Yeah, those are kind of the three new big ones, and there's others that are out there. And one of the things that I pulled offline, you can go and you can put PayPal versus Square, and it'll give you this whole chart of all the different advantages and disadvantages of both of them. I really like Square's flat fee if you're doing a whole lot of credit cards, and it's something we're probably going to look at is doing that flat fee because we process probably over $250,000 in credit cards a year right now. I'd say it's closer to $350,000, so it would be really handy to do a flat fee that every month. But PayPal's so much because of all the integration for us. I wish they would come out with a flat fee, but they're making too much money on.
I'll bet, Amy, if you went to them and approached them with the amount of business you do.
They might, yeah.
You never know.
You never know until you ask. And that's, with a lot of these companies, the reason things have come into play is because they are competing for your business because there's all these different options. That's why, especially, if you run a retail business or any kind of business, you probably got a bunch of calls over the last week and a half because it was the end of the quarter from people wanting to set up appointments with you to talk about your credit card processing services. I got 7 calls in the last 3 days. From somebody wanting to set up a meeting to talk about my credit card processing service. There's a lot of different options out there for credit card processors, for the manual processors. And you have to find what fits best with you. We went with our local bank because we love our local bank. But there's a lot of different companies out there that do that. The thing about mobile is you can take it anywhere with you. So if you're at the farmer's market doing stuff, you have one thing. If you're in a shop doing it, you have it's all kind of linked together, which is kind of neat.
And if you prefer, if you're a baby boomer, and you prefer to use an iTerminal, your bank will do that for you too
Yeah.
with your PC. So if you don't trust mobile payments, you can do that.
And like I said, we still have a standard terminal in our shop right now. The one thing I like about it is it doesn't run, you don't have to plug it in. You have to have internet service, but you don't have to have electricity. So we can still process credit cards either through it or our phones without having to be plugged in. So a lot of times we'll handwrite receipts, but we'll still run credit cards if the power goes out. Usually, we're in Abingdon. If the power goes out, it takes a lot for the power to go out. So we don't, we're usually not open if that's the case, because there's something, there's 3 feet of snow on the ground. And I have, like I said, I have cards, and if you have any questions, if there's anything I didn't cover, or if there's something you think of later that you want to talk to us about, you're more than welcome to call me.
Hey, Amy?
Yeah.
Why don't you tell them all the other committees that you are either
Yeah,
involved
Amy.
in
Yeah.
or that you chair?
My other lives, I am president of the board of directors for Abingdon Main Street. Abingdon Main Street is a nationally accredited Main Street program that works on making Abingdon a beautiful place to live, shop, eat, play, and stay. I am also chair of the Economic Restructuring Committee for Abingdon Main Street, which does a lot of entrepreneurial efforts. We've got a lot of plans for this year of encouraging entrepreneurship in downtown Abingdon. I'm trying to think of every, because I just got some.
You're in charge of?
I am the project coordinator for Mountains of Music Homecoming, which is a Crooked Road project. It's a 9-day, 19 county-wide music and cultural arts festival that happens this June 12th through the 20th. There are 268 cultural experiences, 34 concerts, and 7 barter touring performances that will occur during that festival. And that's part of my life. And then I'm also coordinator for a regional, I'm project manager for a regional organization, a grant program called Spotlight Southwest Virginia, which is a theater networking program. So we're working with all of the historic downtown theaters throughout Southwest Virginia to create a theater network, do some block booking planning, marketing planning, and some other things. So I work with the Lincoln in Marion, the Rex Theater in Galax, the Lyric in Blacksburg, Pulaski Theater in Pulaski, the Jetty Baker, the Lee Theater in Pennington Gap, and the Paramount in Bristol, along with some other theaters that are kind of rolling into the project. I'm also going to be working on a branding project that's part of the Southwest Virginia Cultural Cultural Heritage Foundation. So when I say that, I get, I live on my phone. That's one of the reasons I want a bigger one. 80% of my communication is probably through my cell phone. So for me, this is second nature. And I'm not in the shop a whole lot right now because of all of my other lives. So if you want my cell number, I'll be happy to give it to you, because the likelihood of finding me at the shop number is very, very slim over the next couple months. Also, I'm house managing all the barter touring performances. Keep on the Sunny Side, which is the reason I got married, is going to be playing at the Carter Family Fold for 6 special performances. It's the first time it's been down there in like 4 years. My husband, Gil Braswell, was one of the original cast members. That's the reason he moved to Abingdon, was to do Keep on the Sunny Side. He was living in Nashville, auditioned in New York, originally from North Carolina, moved to Abingdon in 2002. Met me along the way because we were both working at Barter, and we got married at the Carter Fold. And so anytime Barter does a show at the Fold, I usually go down there and house manage those performances, because I worked in front of house management with Barter for 10-ish some odd years, along with some other things. So yeah, I have a lot of irons in the fire right now.
Now,
Yes, ma'am.
from your store website, do you have links to your other activities so we can keep up with them via that way?
I don't have links. There will be a link to Mountains of Music Homecoming on there, because we are kind of an advertising, and we're also doing events at the store during Mountains of Music Homecoming. We're currently the only affiliated venue of the Crooked Road in Washington County, other than Hartwood, and we'll have events going on during that week. I've told the people who work for me, you do not get vacation in June this year, because both Gil and I are going to be very, very busy people. So Mountain Music Homecoming will be on there, and we do a listing of all of the things that we do through the store, but I try to kind of keep my lives separate as much as I can. On my LinkedIn profile, all that stuff's up there, and I put updates and that kind of thing on there, but as far as spotlighting that kind of thing, that's not linked to our website yet.
And the last question, and then we'll end, is do you think that being involved in all of the community events that kind of link back to your business have been a factor in helping your business grow?
It does. One of the cool things about, I left a position to help my husband start this business. I worked for Emory and Henry College for 3.5 years as the director of campus service programs. Before that, I ran a region-wide education grant through the State Council of Higher Ed for Virginia. My husband was an actor at Barter for many years, and he always wanted to own his own music store. And we decided in 2009, in the middle of the recession, that it was a great time to open a retail business. And I left my job to keep him out of jail, is what I always say, because Gil is not a numbers person, and he's not a paperwork person. And he still marvels at the size of our filing cabinets because of all the things that I have in there. So when we started Capo's, we started as a partnership. He is the face of the store. He's the person you see on the Name That Tunes. He's the guy that everybody knows. And so he's the face of the store. And as Emery, who works for me, says, we're all there just to make Gil look good. So we're all working kind of behind the scenes to make sure that everything runs smooth. These other connections, these other things happened because of the business, because we got some notoriety of winning the business challenge, being a top 100 music store in the country for 2 years. I presented at 4 national conferences now through the National Association of Music Merchants on running a small business, a niche business, because we're a niche music store. We're bluegrass old time, all acoustic. So I've done several presentations and stuff nationally because of that. We are affiliated with Crooked Road. I applied just like anybody else to get that Crooked Road position, but they also knew me. I had a relationship with them because of the store. Because I'm able to go through 19 counties and 4 cities and however many towns, 50 some odd towns, and talk to people. One of the things I always do is say, oh, Capo's Music Store, we're in Abingdon, Virginia, this is who we are. And that doesn't hurt business, especially when you're dealing with a lot of music people. Same thing with Spotlight. We deal with 9 theaters throughout Southwest Virginia. I had a lot of relationships with them from working with Barter, but also from working with the Crooked Road on this other project. And, just the more people you know, and word of mouth in business is still really, really important. Word of mouth is now done mostly through social media, but people still have real conversations every now and then. And we get a lot of referrals because of that. I got involved with Abingdon Main Street we initially were a sponsor for what used to be Red, White, and Bluegrass, which is now Red, White, and Beach, 2 very different music styles. But we were a sponsor for that in the beginning. We are not in the footprint for the Abingdon Main Street program, which covers the downtown, where it is at 19, right on the edge of town. But we got involved from that. I got to know Susan Howard, who's the executive director, who's wonderful, through that, and then came onto the board, and then became secretary and then became president, and I'm actually rolling off in July as president. I've been president for 3.5 years now. But having that and being able to talk to people, I'm very passionate about Southwest Virginia. This is where I grew up. I grew up in Russell County. Love Southwest Virginia. Lived away from here for about 1.5 years in Northern Virginia, and I could not get home quick enough. I even went to school. I went to school at Virginia Tech, grad school at Hollins and Roanoke. So I haven't been out of the area to live for very long, and I love it. And Main Street, all these other programs are all about making Southwest Virginia a great place to live and be, and to get businesses to come here. And I'm really, if you talk to me more than 20 minutes, you'll find I'm very passionate about small business and the importance of small business versus big box stores and big businesses. And there's been this concept for a long time about recruiting big business into an area to create jobs, and this is our economic development model. And I'm really passionate about fostering entrepreneurship and grassroots small businesses as an economic development model. And that's one of the things we're doing with Main Street now, is really encouraging businesses to get started. and get their feet under them and provide a support network for new businesses. Because if I knew now, or if I knew then 5 years ago what I know now, I would have probably done some things different when we were starting our store. It took us a little while to find our feet and figure out who we were. We knew what we wanted to be, but getting there required a whole lot more money than we initially anticipated. And it's the building process, and there are things I wish I knew. And so one of the things we're doing with the economic restructuring team this year is building basically a business support team, so that if you have a business and you're having an issue, there'll be a resource team that you can call on completely confidentially, and we will come and do whatever we can to help you get your feet under you as far as providing advice or support or anything like that. So, and we have a merchant group that meets for those merchants that are in Abingdon. They get together and meet every so often. We have a really great promotions team. The board of directors and Abingdon Main Street has really grown over the last 2 years, and we've really kind of finally got our feet under us. We have a consistent board of great people that cover a lot of different walks of life. And so we have a lot of really good plans for the next year. But all of that it all helps business. Anytime you can get your face in front of somebody, it might help your business. And I don't have a problem talking to people, in case you didn't notice. So, for me, I'm out a whole lot doing stuff, and I usually have business cards or other things, and always try to get people to come back to us if they can. We do a lot of stuff. So
when I listen to Amy talk to you and others like this, that's the thing I just don't understand about the community. Abington can't get any better. Why do our supervisors not understand that bringing in big box stores and paying the amount of money it takes to bring in a Cabela's, okay, doesn't make sense to me when you could use just a portion of that money and grow some businesses up from the ground floor up and get them going so much better and be so much more of a sustainable, okay, economy in this area, in my opinion.
Well, just everybody kind of focuses on one or two things, but really, it takes a blend of all kinds of businesses to create the kind of jobs that people need to support their families. So in some instances, it is small business, but there's a blend of all kinds of people and all kinds of job needs based on actually their educational background. So,
But thanks to the Washington County Industrial Development Authority, the town of Abington, town of Glade, we did have that money to be able to do the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting and working.
You're selling to the unsold.
I
Being a
know,
retired businessman, I'll tell you, you'll never convince me, okay, that we put anywhere near enough money in this. Okay, I can tell you
I can say we put enough.
firsthand, Cabela's is not here, okay, for any other reason other than
Well, that's not
the amount
that's not
of
super-
money that we
Yeah.
gave them.
That's
to
the
locate
city of
them.
Bristol, though.
Yeah.
That's the city of Bristol who has a whole different model.
Okay, then
That's not
go
the
down the
Washington
road and
County
we'll see
one.
Washington County did the same thing with the other company. What I'm saying is like to me, when she brought this up, I truly am like you, I believe in this. But we did a presentation the other night for the business challenge. Every single one of those people that did that presentation are companies I would like to see open up in this community that we need bad. Every one of them was, okay? And I'm worried that some of these businesses will not open up because we couldn't afford to give them a modest amount of money to help them just get off the ground. Not put them in business, just get off the ground.
Yeah, the one thing I will say is regionally, over the last even 5 years, because of things like the business challenges that happen in Marion, that happen over in the coal fields, that happen here in Washington County, you're starting to see a lot more of that. So the shift is coming. It's just, it's gonna take a little while. And it's just like the shift with, shopping local and that kind of thing. My mom will drive and spend $5 in gas to get bologna 50 cents cheaper.
Mhm.
That's just one of those things.
Are we related?
It's just one of those things. And no matter what conversations I have with her, she's very supportive of us and what we do. But no matter what conversations I have with her, I can't keep her from shopping at certain stores. It's, it's a shift that has to happen over time. But luckily, it is happening. I mean, I know Sandy stays on the road a whole lot doing presentations throughout this region of fostering that. And things like this, the lunch sessions, which I haven't been able to come to a whole lot of them, but, just having the option now to come and get information without having to go through a paid class to help support that. And we are very blessed in this region to have a good network of locally owned and run banks that are much more supportive and are much easier to deal with and process things through than some big bank that has an office in Chicago that you have to go through 17 people to get a loan approval. So there are some certain advantages, and it's getting better. But like anything else, it's gonna,
Yeah, it's just a.
Delayed wipers took 30 years to develop.
Which is a perfect segue
To the next.
into talking about what My Southwest is getting ready to do.
Well, I don't wanna release that yet, but
Oh,
we're
okay,
trying to
good.
do a one step above the local challenges and do one larger regional one with a lot more money if we're in that.
That
planning
anybody,
stage.
that everybody that has been in the past business challenges can participate in.
It will be a cup challenge, it would be
Yeah,
kind of,
it'll be
you've
like
already you got to this part, even though you might have won and you didn't win, you still have access to a large cup.
And the governor this year put $30 million into economic, put $30 more million, not $30 million, but $30 more million than had been in the last budget into economic development this year. So, and those kind of things, they're all very supportive right now of workforce development and the workforce development projects. But, what happened is there is such a disparity between education that has to work with economic, there are some people that just cannot be a sole proprietor. Or,
Yeah.
they have to work for somebody and they have to know how to work for somebody. And so there's a whole shift in, what employers are looking for and what employees have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And, those are just shifts in times,
It's
I
like
think.
generational
I can tell
shifts.
you that my partners or colleagues in other parts of Virginia would love to have the programs that we have down
Yeah.
here doing it. It's just because we're working together, we're not trying to do it one man.
No,
We know the team and
I know the teams, I know the people very good. I'm sold on that, okay? It doesn't get any better than that. But one piece of the puzzle without the other doesn't work effectively. It's gotta be well-rounded,
All right.
okay? And that's all I'm saying, is
Right.
we're missing a piece of the puzzle that would be so much more beneficial. And I have faith in the folks here
it'd be
that
nice
we will
if
solve
part of
it.
that 30 million, that 10 million was put aside to small business, then have a special pool of money for
Right.
small business
Right.
that meet within a
We
threshold.
had a conversation very similar to this when I'm part, another thing that I'm doing right now, is Leadership Washington County, which is a Chamber of Commerce program. Jennifer's in my class. And we had a very heated discussion walking around the state capitol, which I got to see you up there, walking around the state capitol about that very thing about economic development, that kind of thing. And I think my comment was, if you give me $3 million, see how many people I can employ and what I could do with $3 million with their business plan and our model and what we've done and what our vision is of where we're going to go. But it's really easy, and this is something we deal with. It's very easy to see all of the negatives and get very bitter because, it's just one of those things. It's easy to get pissed off about stuff. And the thing that I have to keep reminding myself is, having grown up here, my dad was a coal miner, my mother was, a farming housewife. I'm one of 7 kids. My dad went to 4th grade and started working in the mines when he was 13. My mom went to 8th grade. I'm the first person of my 89 first cousins to get to go to college. I have 89 first cousins. I'm the first one to graduate from 4-year school. I'm only one of probably 3 that has a master's degree. That was not possible for me without having support and having people who genuinely cared. And the fact that I chose to take a $20,000 pay cut to come back to Southwest Virginia from where I was working in Northern Virginia was because of that support network and my love of where this place is. And being able to see, I grew up in Cleveland, which is pretty much a ghost town, and it's finally getting its feet back under it, and there's some redevelopment happening. But being able to see the transition that's happened, even over the last 10 years, from the time that, you know, I came home when I was 23, 24, whatever, I moved back, and it was very difficult to get a job, and then finding a job and finding my feet, and finding what I wanted, and then choosing to stay here, and having my husband choose to stay here when he lived all over the country, jobbing out to different theaters, because he fell in love with this place that we have, and trying to remain positive about it, and really see all of the good that's starting to happen, and the wheels that are starting to turn, and the people. There's a group called Stay Southwest Virginia who's trying to get young folks to come and stay in Southwest Virginia, so we don't experience what used to be called the brain drain, and that's kind of a negative term, we don't want to call it that anymore, but like an education drain of folks who go to school and never come back. That shift is happening more and more and more. I have a lot of students that I worked with at Emory that chose to live, even though they're from somewhere else, they've chosen to live in Southwest Virginia and either work for somebody or become entrepreneurs on their own, because there is this shift that's happening, but it takes time, and it's really important to kind of stay positive, because it's easy to get pissed off and want to throw eggs at the big box store.
Amy, you understand, my wife grew up here too.
Yeah.
She's extremely positive, she's extremely patient. I grew up outside the area, I'm not patient, okay? I've seen what can be done in other areas of the country in a much shorter period of time. I've seen the professionalism that exists here from folks like this. All they need is a handful of other people around them, whether they be in Richmond or Washington, okay, that have the capability, okay, to revector some of these funds into this area. That's the reason why I was positive enough to write our commissioners and ask them to take the time to come and visit one of these sessions.
Mm-hmm.
Only one commissioner came, and he was the best one to show up here, okay, to listen to this, because he really, really does care about his constituency.
And that's, you know.
But all I'm saying is what worries me is time for our young kids, okay, to stay here, okay, build something here is precious. You know this, if you've got children, you know they're young one day and they're grown the next. So what you have to do is, I look for ways to shorten time periods to be able to do these types of things. I'm not bitter about it. I'm not upset about it. Okay, I'm hopeful, okay, that we can get these things done. Okay, so what I tend to be is the big mouth of the group that will speak up and say, we can do better.
Well,
he's only
we all
one of
believe
them.
that, and so we're, let's not get too
Well, all I want
far
to say
into
is there's
politics.
election
Yeah.
process too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all.
Yeah, that's what I
everybody
started saying.
said.
That's the one thing about the
Yeah,
country we live in.
everybody
is we
has
have
a
that
vote in November, so that's a good place to stop as far as politics goes.
Can I
But,
ask you a question?
Yeah.
You mentioned the $30 million that the governor put into the budget
Economic
for
development.
economic development. How much of that is Southwest Virginia gonna see?
well, we didn't, but,
We didn't mean.
the project, we meaning Washington County in general, but the Center of Excellence got, they're getting some funds for workforce development. Now, that is actually funneled through, Tobacco Commission, but on top of that, a lot of those programs, every community college is involved in those programs. So those programs are getting money out of that budget, just not necessarily straight
Oh,
to
that
that.
just happened recently,
Well,
that,
the
our
governor
region
just
got
did
out of
that,
it.
right. And so, I'll say again, there has to be a blend of all kinds of businesses for a community to work. It's just like you can't put all your money in the stock market. You gotta have a little real estate and a little this and a little that. So not going too far out of that. They have tried, the governor sent Martin Briley, who is the Director of Economic Development for the state right now, he sent him to Washington County, and he came down and he talked to us, and, they talked about what they're doing and how they're trying to do it. And this workforce development project that everybody's paying close attention to. Once the advanced manufacturing skills have graduated, the tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers that are supplying these manufacturers will take a look at Washington County. So that's gonna be a really long-term thing. Some other places where that money comes from is things like expanding the airport runway so that corporate jets can land. And so you don't see it, and all of our agencies, mine included here at the incubator, you know, we all say, they're not giving us enough money. But local government, I can tell you, the more money you need from local government, the more somebody's got to pay a tax on it, because that local government money comes from taxes. So you got to be careful with all of that, but that money's kind of, you know, they actually did some, the legislature, I think, this year worked awfully well, and they actually were successful in putting transportation money in districts. So I don't know how it's going to pan out for us. That might not be enough money for our district, but at least it's a starting point, because we used to fight with Northern Virginia all the time for road money. And so now they're putting money in districts, and we'll see how that works, but,
And
you
it's
know,
actually-
it's easy
and
to.
that, that transportation budget actually is gonna double the money that can be used
Right.
each year to work on roads.
Right.
Work on old bridges, work on roads that are already in place. It's, you know, we're talking about why the Board of Supervisors